Hi, this is Greg with Lionquestfitness. Today we're going to talk about the convenience of carrying a J-frame revolver. Now I have to do these kind of videos every once in a while, so my good friend Dan the Wolfman has something to rebut. But hey, we agree on a lot of things. Some things we don't agree on. That's what makes life interesting. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the gun I was shooting today. In an Azula holster. Got a Smith & Wesson 640. Now this one is also, it's 38-357. And I've got the Botelier grips on the gun. Now these are thick and they give me a good purchase on the gun. It's also very easy to get this gun out of concealment. It's almost like a panther in the way, the smooth way it glides out of the holster and out of concealment. Now the scenarios we ran, first one, you have someone on your own property, you see them in the shadows. I carry a small flashlight everywhere I go. I carry it in my right pocket. I shine it in their eyes on that person. What are you doing? All right, they start to threaten with weapons. I pull this out, and it's a good one-handed shooter. Now, the other scenarios had to do with being rushed, somebody try to knock you out from the side, block, strike, draw the gun. If there's time to issue a challenge, stop, get back. If not, and you perceive that deadly threat, then you shoot. So what are some advantages of pocket carry with a J-frame? Well, first off, the convenience. It's a 24/7 gun. You put it in your pocket in the morning, take it out of your pocket when it's time for bed. Put it on the nightstand or put it somewhere else accessible. Maybe have another firearm available, which I do. Always keep I keep a full-size K-frame duty revolver, on my nightstand, and I'll put the J-frame up on a shelf where I can get to it if I need to. But it's convenient. All right, I don't have to dress around the gun. I don't have to have a cover garment. I don't have to, go someplace where I take my jacket or my shirt off, and then I have a gun I have to hide in some form or fashion. This gun stays with me most places, but places that are restricted, like a public library where I do a lot of studying, or a school where I go to attend paramedic classes, it stays locked in my vehicle and secured in my vehicle. And it's very convenient to just pull it out, lock it up. When I get back in the car, get it back. Now, some other things, you can safely work if I'm doing construction type work, or I'm doing yard work, working on a vehicle. This is a very convenient way to carry a firearm. And it's not going to fall out of a holster. It's not going to be uncomfortable when you're doing things. Now, another reason you can have your hand in your pocket on the gun if you feel like there's danger of some sort. And nobody's the wiser that you have your hand on that gun and that you can draw that gun very rapidly. So those are the advantages. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages of a J-frame revolver? Well, obviously, capacity. You only have 5 rounds. But I will say this, the Greg Elifrit study from over 20 years ago did come to an average, the number of shots it took with 38 and 357 to stop an attack, and the average was less than 2 rounds. 1.87 for 38, and I believe 1.72, maybe 1.73 for 357. Whereas with 9mm, it was more than 2 rounds, but less than 3 for a 9mm to stop an attack. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that, and we won't go into it, but and an average is just that, an average. But you have more than a probability, if you can hit your target, of stopping an attack by, first off, the presence of the firearm, and second, by getting your rounds on target. Now, another disadvantage is a slightly slower draw if you don't have your hand in your pocket, as opposed to, say, like appendix carry with a cover garment, or even outside the waistband with a cover garment. I find it is a tad bit slower because you got to get that hand in your pocket to get to the gun. But that's a small disadvantage. Another disadvantage is if you're sitting, if you're driving, it's going to be very hard to get that gun out of your pocket, although not impossible with practice. Now, over the years, I've had a few people throw up to me, when I talk about carrying a J-frame revolver, they quote Clint Smith, and they say, "You know what Clint Smith said about J-frames." That's like, well, yeah, I do. He basically said, if you're going to carry a J-frame, you better know how to use it. And I say that about any gun. Any gun you carry, you need to practice with it. You need to train with it. You need to know how to integrate some other secondary skill, use of force skill, be it empty hand, pepper spray, club, Yawara, etc., but be able to manipulate with that handgun, to be able to go from one thing to another, just like in my scenario. So you got to train. And bottom line is the choice of what gun you carry. A gun's not a magic talisman. Whether you carry a semi-auto, high capacity, lower capacity, etc., you have to be prepared to use it. You always have to be aware, and you have to be careful about where you go and what you do. And this is Greg with Lionquestfitness reminding you, go out and stay safe.